Hello, friends, and welcome into our NBA Finals Game 1 preview. I am Tom Downey. Alongside me is Harris Rubenstein. Keep your comments coming throughout the night. Who you got tonight, Cavs or Warriors? We'll make our predictions as well. But Harris, fourth straight time, baby.
This is incredible. This is unlike anything we have ever seen in the history of sports. 4 straight years of the same two teams in a championship matchup. It's going to be incredible. I think this is one of the most special things that we've seen in sports history. LeBron James versus the Warriors, the best team versus the best player. I can't even remember the last time that we've had a championship like this in another sport, let alone 4 straight times. very true.
One. Yeah. All right, so Harris, what does this overall mean for the NBA? We know that the ratings have gone up, but in year 4, are we finally getting some of the Cavs-Warriors fatigue?
Well, over the last 3 years, I think we kind of went into every season wondering if they were going to make it back. And then it kind of seemed that going into this year, it was more of a dreading kind of idea of, oh my God, are we really going to get Cavs and Warriors for the 4th time? But, you know, a lot of the people that I've talked to who are general NBA fans, they still seem excited for this because it is still LeBron James and it is still the Golden State Warriors. And I think a lot of the times, especially in basketball, too often we get great teams matched up with bad teams and they just get blown off the court, and this is what people want to see. They want to see Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and the Golden State Warriors go up against LeBron James in a finals. Whether or not, you know, they want to see it 4 times in a row is another question. But I think in terms of the NBA and kind of where it's going, look, the ratings have gone up every single year over the past 3 years.
I bet it doesn't happen this time.
I think it does. I think ratings are going to go up at least 15 to 20% again this year. Ratings have been up across the board for the NBA playoffs. They should be again. Look, LeBron James is much-watched television. Now you add Steph Curry and Kevin Durant in there. This has been one of the most watched NBA seasons ever, and I think the finals will follow suit.
Is this bad, though, for the NBA, that it's the same thing for 4 straight years? And, look, you tried to argue differently against me throughout the year that, this was the Raptors year, you said, for example. And I said from the beginning, it's going to be Warriors-Cavs. And I actually think that's bad for the NBA because it's the same thing. There's no parity.
Well, I will say this. I think it would have been bad for the NBA this year if all the other teams didn't put up such a fight this year. And also, I think it needs to be noted that this year compared to last year, way more exciting teams in both conferences coming into the playoffs this year. And also, we had some teams in the playoffs that ended up surprising that we didn't expect. The Indiana Pacers brought the Cavs to 7. The Pelicans swept the Blazers and then won a game against the Warriors. The Rockets brought the Warriors to 7. The Celtics brought the Cavs to 7 without Kyrie and Gordon Hayward. So I think the finals, you know, obviously you don't always want to see the same 2 teams in the finals 4 years in a row, but this year, we had a lot more competition in the playoffs, not so much in the game-to-game basis, but the teams going into next year, they project out to be a lot better.
I think that's a big point that you kind of brushed over a little bit, what you did mention, the game-to-game basis.
Bad.
It's a blowout, and you get like 1 or 2 good game series, and that is really bad for the NBA, and I don't understand why it happens every game.
Well, the reason it happens every game is because that's the nature of the modern-day NBA with three-point shooting. It's whoever hits all their threes is going to just run away with it, and whoever doesn't is going to lose. I mean, I think Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals was the perfect kind of just example of the modern-day NBA. If you hit your threes like the Warriors did in the second half, you win. If you don't hit your threes like the Rockets did for 27 consecutive shots, then you lose. That's just what the modern-day NBA is. And, the CEO of Chat Sports, Brett Scott, always complains about how he hates, opening up a game in the third quarter and the team's already down 14. But the nature of the NBA is you might be down 14, but you start nailing some threes, that lead is going to get cut to 4 in about 3 minutes.
How many times did that happen? 2 games for the Warriors, right?
It happened a couple of games with the Warriors. Did happen in 2 games with the Celtics and the Cavs. And it also was kind of the entire series with the Pacers versus the Cavs of just these crazy runs of back-to-back-to-back threes. But look, we're going to see a much different NBA next year. I think, we talked about this on NBA Weekly. I do, but not in terms of which teams are going to be good. I think next year is going to start one of the trends of where we see other styles of play in the NBA really start to take hold because there are so many great young players in the NBA who aren't fantastic three-point shooters. We have a huge influx of big men coming in this year's draft. You could also argue that maybe about 10 of the top 15 best young players in the NBA right now are not three-point shooters. Embiid and Simmons, on the Philadelphia 76ers. Karl Anthony Towns on On the Minnesota Timberwolves, Kristaps Porzingis isn't a primary three-point shooter. So there's a lot of great young players across basketball, and I think we'll start seeing it shift maybe next year. Not completely, obviously, one way or another, but eventually it's going to have to shift another way.
We'll see. You see that, folks, up on your screen there. Who would you rather start an NBA franchise around, LeBron or Durant? Let's talk now about LeBron and what it means for this year, his play this year against the Warriors, and, of course, beyond that once we get to free agency. He's managed in reality to kind of will the Cavs to another finals berth. Yeah, it's Eastern Conference, but he's back once again. What does this game mean for his legacy, be it a win or a loss?
Well, I think overall for LeBron James, he just kind of gets the bad end of the stick a lot when we talk about kind of NBA legacy and NBA history. Because, look, when people talk about Jordan and his finals, they always just go 6-0. And that's kind of all they say. They don't talk about who he beat. They don't talk about who he beat to get there. They never really talk about that. You just hear, oh, he went 6-0 in finals. But with LeBron, I just find that we're constantly talking about the situations that lead up to those finals and giving him individual excuses. But that's right now. That's while we're in the middle of this. We got to think about LeBron's legacy in 10 to 15 years. Are we going to remember every single finals trip that he's going to have and the intricacies that went into it? Or are we going to look back at specifically 2018 LeBron James and think, oh yeah, that was the year that the Celtics didn't have Kyrie Irving or Gordon Hayward and the Pacers brought him to 7 and he swept the Raptors and he went to the finals with this Cavs team, blah, like all these specific things. Is that really going to be what we remember from this year, or is he going to lose and we're just going to say, oh, LeBron James is 3-6 all-time in finals?
Here's the biggest thing that I have with the LeBron talk of how, oh, Jordan undefeated and LeBron has lost 5. Does it really matter when you lose if you didn't win? Like, why is it 6-0 that matters so much there? Like, it's that he still lost a bunch. MJ lost a couple times in the first round. LeBron hasn't. Like, I don't think it matters if you lose in the finals versus losing in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's still a loss. If you ain't first, you're last, right?
I mean, Jordan went 1-9 in NBA playoff series before he got Scottie Pippen. So that's just kind of how things go with this stuff. Look, I love LeBron James. I think what he's done for the NBA is unparalleled outside of only Michael Jordan. But look, for me, it's kind of also like the Tom Brady, Joe Montana argument that we have in the NFL. You know, 4-0 versus Tom Brady's 5-3. Obviously, at this point, you know, maybe we'll see if Brady can get to a couple more. But for me with LeBron, look, he's made it to 8 straight NBA finals. For me, I understand that going to 6 and winning 6 is fantastic, but 8 consecutive years in the same conference, not only just beating the same teams every year, the black hole that is LeBron James, the amount of teams that he has eaten up and spat out in the entire Eastern Conference is incredible. The Hawks, the Pacers, the Raptors, the Celtics. He's done the Pistons also. He's done this with multiple different Eastern Conference franchises, not just 1 or 2 teams. So I find that going to 8 straight finals, to me, is just, it's so much more impressive than just winning 6.
How big of an accomplishment is getting this Cavs to the finals? And I'll make note, didn't even have Kevin Love for Game 7 against Celtics, the second best player on that team.
And also most of Game 6, mind you. Look,
5 minutes all.
I don't think that this is his greatest accomplishment. I think that people saying that LeBron bringing this team to the finals being his greatest accomplishment, do we not remember when he beat the Warriors down 3-1 in the NBA Finals? Not just any Warriors team. Oh, yeah, the 73-win Warriors team, who he then walked into Oracle Arena in Game 7 and beat them with one of the greatest individual basketball plays of all time with the chase down block on Andre Iguodala. That is LeBron James's greatest achievement. So this is something that I think a lot of people expected, which is why it's not his greatest achievement. People expected him to get to the finals this year, except for me.
Yeah, you did, because you thought it was the Raptors' year.
I thought it was anyone's year except for the Cavs team, who, mind you, I have to kind of point out why it didn't. This Cavs team will be the first team in NBA history to make it to the NBA Finals while being bottom 3 in defensive rating.
I'm glad you bring that up.
Never happened before. I can't even believe that that's possible.
Do you know what the Cavs' points per game allowed were in the playoffs?
No, I do not.
Where are they ranked? They're second. The switch exists, Harris. The switch exists.
Do you know what it is?
Second fewest points allowed.
I think it actually
also,
goes...
the Eastern Conference is not good.
I don't... That doesn't actually surprise me that much. I think what it actually comes down to is the fact that this Cavs team, especially in the playoffs, full of veterans. A lot of playoff minutes with a lot of these guys. Kyle Korver, Tristan Thompson, J.R. Smith. Like, all these guys have been together for a couple of years now. But I think one of the great things about this Cavs team, it also has a lot to do with LeBron, is this team can be an amoeba. It can really shift to whatever it needs to be. Does it need to guard the perimeter a little bit better? It has the players to do that. Does it need to guard the post better? It has the ability to do that. It can do whatever it needs to do around LeBron James because he is the most versatile player in the history of basketball. I love you, Magic Johnson, but this is unlike anything that we've ever seen in this sport. He is able to completely alter his game to exactly against whatever team he's playing. So this Cavs team has the ability to do that as well. If it needs to be able to hit threes, has JR and a Kyle Korver to be able to do that. Does it need a lot of length on the defensive side of the ball? It has Tristan Thompson and Jeff Green who can come in and give you more length on that as well. So they can do a lot of different things, but for me, I just wonder if they have enough ammo and just the enough players to physically be able to keep up to Golden State because they have the ability to change their defense to stop Golden State. I just wonder if they have enough players.
We'll come back to the Cavs and their role players because they haven't been very good as of late. But this current Warriors team, Harris, do you think that they coasted or maybe even a little bit worse?
They completely coasted. They completely coasted because I think they saw that in the Western Conference, the only team, once this whole thing with Kawhi Leonard went down, because I think that the Warriors legitimately think that Kawhi Leonard is a huge threat to them. I mean, before he went down last year.
He's a LeBron stopper.
Exactly.
So he's an everyone stopper.
They might have actually beaten the Warriors last year, but that's besides the point. I think once they saw that Kawhi went down, they looked at the rest of the Western Conference, and said, all right, the only team that can really beat us is the Rockets. Like, I'm not afraid of the Blazers. I'm not afraid of the Pelicans. I'm not afraid of the Jazz. Like, these teams, they're not going to touch us. So if we can beat the Rockets, then we're fine. And I think they kind of realized, once maybe Game 5, Game 6 came around against the Rockets, crap, we have to try now. And then once they actually started to try, they ran away with it, regardless of what you think with Chris Paul. Yeah, regardless of what you think with Chris Paul.
They Chris Paul, Houston wins that series.
But look, with the Golden State Warriors and overall kind of this season for me has been a big disappointment. I wanted them to come out this year and just blow people away. And they did for the first half of the season, then it almost looked like they stopped caring. They had some injuries. Curry got a little banged up. They obviously lost Patrick McCaw on the end of the season there. They have a lot of centers on their bench.
That are not good.
It just seemed that they gave up and stopped trying. It was really disappointing for me as someone who covered the team all year long as the host of the Warriors Report. I was hopeful that they were really going to come out this year and try to be a better team than the 73-win team. And they very clearly did not. And it was a disappointment for me and a lot of other NBA fans. I really wanted to see them try.
I am okay with it because it doesn't matter what they do in the regular season. It's all about what they do in the finals. And now they're here. They did kind of flip a switch late against Houston, having Chris Paul not being able to block that switch, I think, was a big factor on that end. But they clearly miss Andre Iguodala in a big way. And adjusting without him, too, took some time.
And I think one of the kind of stunning things about all this that we've learned with the Warriors so far this playoffs year, or just the playoffs in general, it is stunning how much they need Andre Iguodala. Not even so much for his play style. It's more of his demeanor and his calm attitude that kind of keeps the team level, doesn't let them get too emotional, and keeps their heads on straight. That veteran presence that he brings to this table of kind of being, the non-superstar out of the Hamptons 5 death lineup. The ability to keep kind of the boat not shaky, just keep it level in a way. And when they don't have him in there, it seems that every single game, the team just loses their minds for a quarter and a half, and they can't reclaim it until they go into halftime and have Steve Kerr give them some sort of pep talk. It really is stunning how
they get some of the secret stuff in the third quarter, and they're back to being the monster.
It is stunning to me how much this team actually needs Andre Iguodala, and I think it also ended up answering the question, who is the perfect fifth man for the Hamptons 5? I think a lot of the times through last year and this year, people wondered, is it really Andre Iguodala? It is Andre Iguodala. I wondered, maybe it's a center. Maybe it's someone with a, kind of more of an Andrew Bogut. Could he fit in? Is it a JaVale McGee, a Zaza Pachulia? No, it's Andre Iguodala. He is the perfect fifth piece to this All-Star 4. And it's stunning to me. And I think it actually helps Andre Iguodala, because I've actually argued this a couple times. James Yoder, the CEO of Chat Sports, and we brought this up last week. Who has a better career, Andre Iguodala or Carmelo Anthony? But at the same time,
he's got the rings.
He does have the rings. Melo has the stats. Is Andre Iguodala a Hall of Famer? I wonder if they win the finals this year, do you have to ask yourself that question? Because he has been a very important piece of one of the greatest teams of all time. He won a Finals MVP. He will have been on a team that won 3 out of 4 Finals. He was a great player when he was on the Sixers. I honestly wonder if Andre Iguodala is getting to the point where we have to stop thinking him as a lesser part of this lineup and maybe wondering if we're watching a lineup with 5 potential Hall of Famers on it. And I understand, like, you know, it's unfair to kind of compare him to Robert Horry, but do you?
I think that's a pretty fair comp, actually.
Yeah, like, it makes a lot of sense to me.
Like, differing play styles,
of course,
but they fit the same type of this is what we're going to do. Where the top role player, the key non-star, Horry was that great player for various teams.
Yeah, and
LA, of course, in particular.
It's just one of the kind of more underrated players in NBA history, and I think Andre Iguodala is going to end up falling into that category. Again, there are very few players in NBA history who will be able to say what Andre Iguodala is able to say. I won a Finals MVP on one of the greatest teams of all time. I won 3 out of 4 titles, and I ended up being the answer to the most important question in the NBA. Who's the 5th man with Durant, Curry, Clay, and Draymond? It's Andre Iguodala.
I don't think that's the most important question.
It's one of them. It was always one of the important ones because when they signed Durant, when they signed Durant, it brought up a lot of different questions about, you know, their defense, their versatility, and what they do kind of as an overall lineup against other big or small lineups. And Iguodala gives them the versatility to be able to match up against either a big lineup or a small, because Durant can guard the 4, but if Durant's guarding the 4 against a bigger lineup, who plays the 3? Clay really can't defend the 3 unless it's, you know, a Paul George or someone. But you throw Andre Iguodala in there, it solves your defensive issues, it solves your length issues, it solves your shooting issues, and your passing issues. He literally answers all the questions that you would need on that lineup, and I think it matters for his career overall.
Well, on that Finals MVP, I still maintain it should have gone to LeBron James that year because LeBron James absolutely carried that team, and he's carrying them again right now.
Yeah.
And in my eyes, Harris, this Finals result does not matter what LeBron James does. LeBron James can put up 40, 10, and 10, and the Cavs still might not win the series unless multiple people step around him. It cannot be a LeBron versus the Warriors. It has to be LeBron and insert various role players each game to help him out.
I think one underrated thing that's coming out of the Eastern Conference Finals that not a lot of people are talking about for the Finals, this Cavs team at home is quite good. They play great defense. They play gritty basketball. They're diving for loose balls. They're defending the rim really well. Tristan Thompson in Cleveland, you know, comes alive and he turns into, Dikembe Mutombo. He's blocking shots all over the place.
He's good, Tristan.
Al Horford could do nothing whenever they went into Cleveland, and it really ended up deciding the series. I wonder how much is Cleveland playing at home going to play into this series? Because obviously we know that the Warriors are going to just roast them in Oracle unless something crazy happens. But if you're LeBron James and the Cavs, your entire goal for this series, get it to Game 7. Nothing else matters. Get it to Game 7. If you can win every single game at home and get it to a Game 7 in Oracle, LeBron knows he can win that game even with or without Kyrie Irving. LeBron James in a Game 7 is probably a favorite, no matter what team he's going up against.
He would not be favored against
No, obviously not in terms of Vegas, but just in overall basketball perception. You say, hey, what's the one player in a Game 7 you would want to have? As of right now, the answer is LeBron.
But I'm still taking the Big 4 over LeBron in a Game 7.
You would have before. I wonder, through an entire 7-game series, if he can win 3 games against the Warriors and set up a Game 7 in Oracle,
then maybe.
I wonder how much of an underdog he really ends up being.
Probably not that big. Here are some of just my overall keys to the game, or to the games this year for the Cavs. They need to help LeBron. And look, the Cavs roster right now, frankly, is just not that good. Yes, they're going to get Kevin Love back for tonight. But you look at what he's done. Kevin Love really has not been good enough. About 14 points and 10 rebounds per game. And there's a direct correlation to Kevin Love playing well and the Cavs winning, and at times comfortably. And he put up 22 against Boston. They did lose that game. But he roasted the Raptors, 23, 21, 31, and it wasn't even a series. And that was a big factor in that. Kevin Love is the first player I'll mention that has to step up this week because LeBron cannot do it by himself, and that's not a knock against LeBron. No player ever could do it by himself against this Golden State team.
That Raptors series was a really, really fun one to watch as an NBA fan, and it also actually raised my overall perception of Tyronn Lue as a coach because when they walked into Toronto, they knew that they couldn't just play the same way that they did against the Pacers and just play very evenly balanced offense, defense, 50-50. They had to throw up points. What did they end up doing? They ended up making this really interesting offensive two-man system between Kevin Love and Kyle Korver, constantly opening them up for three-point shots and low post, just easy matchups because Serge Ibaka is a disaster. And then LeBron James would take care of the rest. But with this Warriors series with Kevin Love, this is going to be a really kind of deciding factor for his career because over the past couple years with Kevin Love, you can kind of hang his hat on, all right, he was the number 3 guy behind LeBron and Kyrie Irving. Now Kevin Love is the number 2 guy on a finals team. If he can win a finals as the number 2 guy, I think it changes our perception of his career overall because, to be frank, I've constantly thought that Kevin Love is one of the most overrated players in the NBA. He was great with Minnesota, but he was a stats guy. And then he comes to Cleveland and, you know, he's a nice 4, putting up 18 and 10. You're not going to find that off the street. He's a good player. He's a pretty baseline all-star, but he never ended up being the world breaker that we thought he was going to end up being. And I think it's kind of hurt his perception overall in his career. But if he can get it done this series and win the finals as a number 2, it really defines his career as a whole. And I think he knows that.
I will say this with Love. I think he's going to average 20 points a game for the Cavs to win this series because they need more scoring. The Cavs this year, when non-LeBron players have put up 60 points or more, when those guys have combined for that, they're 9-3. When someone's put up 20 points a game, they're like 3-1.
And I think
3-1 because it's all been K-Love.
And your point with Kevin Love kind of goes to something with the Warriors as well. Look, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, I feel like a lot of the times the forgotten man is Draymond Green, who just so happens to be one of the most versatile defenders of all time. I've never seen a big man like him be able to just simply cover guards like they're nothing. I mean, he shut down James Harden on a bunch of ISOs multiple times. It's just stunning to watch Draymond Green on defense. So now you have Draymond versus Kevin Love, and to me, I'm going to pick Draymond Green in that battle every single time, just based off his perception. He's the Defensive Player of the Year coming into this year.
Flip side is you might be able to get Green out of the paint a little bit more because Love can stretch the floor, which is a thing we talked about many times in previously.
You can, and it also kind of covers what we were talking about with Tristan Thompson as well and his importance to this series. Because if Tristan Thompson plays the way that he played against Boston in this series, it's going to force the Warriors to play a little bigger. Because I don't think Kevin Durant can guard Kevin Love. I think the size and the overall play style isn't necessarily there.
Why is LeBron wearing a suit and shorts?
Fun fact, the Cleveland Cavaliers
Warriors by 20 tonight.
The Cavs were over 3 Warriors by 20 when LeBron wore a suit before the game. This is not pretty.
This is not an okay outfit, LeBron. You cannot rock a suit with shorts. Warriors by 20 tonight.
To be fair,
This is bad.
I walked into work today to seeing a guy in a full 3-piece suit, vest, tie, everything. He was wearing flip-flops.
Also bad.
So that was fun.
He's not LeBron James.
That's wild.
That's bad.
Shorts on a
That's
suit.
bad.
Come on, LeBron. That's terrible. But
that's real bad.
Go back to what we were talking about before, Tristan Thompson. He's going to make the Warriors play a little longer. Maybe you see a little more JaVale McGee. Maybe you see a little bit more Jordan Bell and the likes of some of those centers that we haven't seen a lot in the playoffs. He's going to force the Warriors to get bigger, and if they do, that sets up a one-on-one matchup between Kevin Durant and LeBron James and Draymond Green and Kevin Love. And I think that Kevin Love-Draymond Green matchup is going to be one of the biggest deciders of this series.
I'll mention with Thompson, he and Love have to feast on the boards. If they're not feasting, if they're not getting offensive and defensive rebounds, that's going to be an issue for the Cavs. They have to have that there. I'll throw out a couple other names that I need to see play well. You know that Kyle Korver is not going to be a focal point of the offense. Outside of a couple catch and shoots, he'll put up like 9 points like he's done pretty much all series long. The one player that I want to see play really, really well tonight and the entire series, I got to see better play from George Hill.
Yeah.
I think that George Hill has the potential to be one of the swing players for the Cavs, one of their bigger X factors. He has played, I think, fairly well on defense. That's going to be key for helping them slow down Clay and Steph Curry, with you assume J.R. playing some more big key defensive roles. But George Hill shot 41% in the regular season from three-point range. I need that George Hill, not 26% from three-point range. I'll remember this before he hit the nice shot late in Game 7. LeBron kind of had the ball, was walking it up, and George Hill kind of walked forward towards LeBron like he was going to get the ball. And then he realized, oh, wait a minute, I'm George Hill. I'm not getting this ball.
Look, I said this multiple times throughout the season, and I will say it again in terms of the Cleveland Cavaliers. If the difference between you winning and losing in NBA Finals, it's George Hill, you have much bigger problems. And it turns out that George Hill might end up being the difference between the Cavs winning and losing the NBA Finals, which I don't think anyone in their right mind would have been able to guess going into this series. It is wild to me how many players on the Cavs maybe wouldn't be relevant if they were with another team, but are so integral to the Cavs winning the series. I mean, J.R. Smith has been abysmal for the past 5 games or so in the playoffs. Even going back to the Pacers series, he was bad. They're going to need him to be maybe the best shooter in this series in order to win, and that's going up against Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. I'm not saying he's a better shooter. I'm going to say he's going to have to shoot like they do in order for them to win.
38.3% from 3 for his career. I need to see George Hill be a bigger factor for this team. He's played some pretty good defense, I thought, throughout the series. Has done a decent enough job when he needs to handle the ball, but I need to see George Hill be more of a secondary scoring option, so that when LeBron needs a break for 2 possessions or when he needs to find George Hill in the corner, Hill will make that shot. I'm a big fan of George Hill. I always have been, part because I'm great with him in NBA 2K. But I need to see more from George Hill. If the Cavs put up these per-game scoring numbers, they will not come close to winning. They need at least 3 or 4 guys at 10-plus and a consistent 10-plus, not a 20 points one night, 5 the next.
They are also going to need Kyle Korver to hit wide open corner threes when the game is on the line, so they don't go down 3-1 instead of maybe being tied at 2-2, which ended up being the decider of the series last year when Kyle Korver missed that open 3, to which I lost money on. So do not miss that corner 3 again, Kyle Korver. My dad was like, oh, they're gonna lose. I was like, no, they're gonna win, and then they were about to, and then Kyle Korver missed the 3.
The Warriors' big 4 themselves, of course, we'll mention some of their runs on the third quarter, which have been astounding so far this year. Curry doesn't quite look right to me. And I saw this on Twitter a couple times. I think it's pretty fair. We give Steph Curry way more passes than any other NBA superstar.
We do, and I know why. It's because he's small and he's relatable. He's one of the first NBA superstars in a very, very long time to actually be someone that you can look at his screen and be like, hey, that guy kind of looks like me. He's only 6'3". Everyone else kind of towers over him.
Not that big, by the way.
He takes these crazy shots. It's just... Look,
I've stood next to Curry in shoes. He's not 6'3".
And I think another thing with Steph is that we know his history with injuries. We know that that's just a part of who he is and his career as an NBA player. But look, my favorite part of the Warriors, and I've said this multiple times on Twitter, it's my blackout sessions. When they're down like 6-7 points, I black out for like an hour, and I wake up, and they're up 8 points. We're going to see that multiple times in this series. I can't wait.
All right, folks, you see it up there on your screen. If you guess the score in tonight's Game 1 correctly, we'll Venmo you $25. So keep those score predictions coming in the comments section on Facebook and on YouTube. I see some on YouTube. Eagles Nation says 119-99 Warriors. I don't mind that one. I think it's going to be a bit of a rout here.
Wow, that dude kind of came really close to the score that I was predicting. I had 118-98 is my score for tonight. I think we see the Cavs.
LeBron wearing shorts has had an issue for me. By the way, one quick note, obviously, it has to come in before the game starts.
Yes. What's your prediction?
I don't mind 119. I'm going to go 115-100. I'll limit it to a 15-point win. I think the Warriors cover. I think that we've seen LeBron James in the past say Game 1 is a feel-out game for him, which is, I think, kind of more of an excuse as why they lost in Game 1. I just don't think the Cavs in Game 1 are going to have enough. They will not be swept by the Warriors, but I don't like their changes in Game 1. I think you see a big third quarter run from Golden State tonight.
I think we're going to have another edition of the Harris blacks out during Warriors session.
Really shouldn't black out so much. It's really bad for me.
You know what? But that's just what the Warriors do to me. I'm like, I don't need to watch this. I'm going to wake up and they'll be up 10. Boom. Happens every single time. I'll tweet it again tonight. I tweeted it out throughout the entire Western Conference Finals. This is what the Warriors do. I think that we're going to have a really fun series this year. Look, LeBron James versus the Warriors. This is what everyone wants to see. Despite my constant hatred of the Cavs, I've always wanted to see LeBron James get another crack at this Warriors team because we know that this is what he's wanted. We know that LeBron James wants another crack at this team. He wants to prove that he can do it. If he wins this series, this would be maybe the greatest individual finals win in NBA history.
Agree.
And I want to see it. I really do. I think the Warriors will win, but I want LeBron to win. I think it'll be incredible.
Big thing tonight, folks. Watch out for the third quarter, especially if it's close. The Golden State Warriors, Harris, have been absolutely incredible in the third quarter of games. They've done a ridiculous amount of scoring. Everyone just is a way better shooter. In the first, second, and fourth quarters this year, folks, the Warriors have a 20-point differential. In the third quarter, they've been outscored by 130. You see the clock there, folks, getting closer to tip-off time. We're going to take a quick 10-second break and be right back.